Good morning, friends. Michelle here with Halfway Homestead, and today we are going to be making something new, sort of. It's cherry pie filling. I'm going to use a new recipe from the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, and I have made cherry pie filling before using a different recipe, and it was not very good. So we're going to try this one and see how it goes. I'm a little nervous because trying a new recipe on video may not go very well, but we'll see. I do apologize if you can hear the dishwasher in the background, but it's real life here, and I had to run the dishwasher. I've got the dryer going in the background, so again, I'm sorry if it's distracting. So this recipe, I've read over it a couple times, and it says to, actually it's using frozen cherries from the store is what the recipe calls for. 10 pounds of frozen tart red cherries thawed in the refrigerator. I have a beautiful neighbor named Rhonda, and Rhonda has 2 gigantic cherry trees, and she invited me to come and pick all that I want. In fact, I may go back and get more. But this was an ice cream bucket, so about a gallon of cherries that I pitted, okay? And they've just been hanging out in the refrigerator. I did that a couple days ago. And then I had another gallon and a half of cherries that I put into my steamer juicer, and I ended up with a gallon and a half of juice. And so this recipe tells you to strain your frozen cherries and gather the juice, reserve the juice off of that. Well, I'm changing it because I didn't start with frozen. But what I am going to do is use my fresh berries and my juice that I prepared. And I got to look here to see how. Okay, I need 8 cups of juice. And so this is a noisy cabinet. Sorry. Grab a measuring cup. And this holds 8 cups. So I'm going to measure out my 8 cups of juice. And I'm going to stop the camera real quick and just get all my ingredients measured out ahead of time. I think that'll save time in the long run, and it will help me feel a little bit more confident about this new recipe. So I will be right back with you. Okay, I have everything measured out, and I'm glad I did that because I went back and reread everything I needed, and I had originally measured out 8 cups of juice, and it says to start with 4. So I now have 4 cups of juice in my pot. I'm going to add 3.5 cups of sugar. It's just plain white sugar. And 1 cup of clear gel. And so I do buy my clear gel. It's called Dutch gel at the Mennonite store. And it says to whisk, but this is a nonstick pan. And I don't, yes I do, okay. Sorry to say, I don't have a nonstick whisk or a plastic whisk, but I do. Okay, so it says to whisk this together and bring to a boil. I'm going to put it on medium heat to start. And then it says, okay, stirring. This also calls for cinnamon. I have 2 family members that really do not tolerate cinnamon well. So, excuse me. So I'm not going to add the cinnamon. And I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference because in this entire batch of cherry pie filling, it only asks for half a teaspoon. So I'm not going, something on the burner. I'm not going to worry about that half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, so it says to put those things in there and stir constantly, bring to a boil over medium-high heat. Boil until thickened. It says mixture will begin to bubble. Well, yeah, if it's going to boil, it's going to bubble. Add lemon juice, bring to a boil again, boil for 1 minute. Add berries or cherries and return to a boil. stirring constantly and gently. Okay, so this did not tell me, like as far as in cups, how many cherries to use. It just says to start with 10 pounds of frozen cherries. So I'm going to start, since I did 4 cups of juice, I'm going to start with 4 cups of berries. And if that's not enough, I can add more. Okay, I will bring you back whenever this is to a boil and let you see what it looks like. Okay, it is getting pretty hot, and I'm glad I have stirred constantly because I can feel that clear gel gelling on the bottom of the pan. Okay, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to stop stirring for a minute. It says that when it begins to bubble, put in the lemon juice. Okay, we're not quite there. So tell me in the comments below, what kind of pie filling do you like to make? What have you had success with or not success? We'll leave that, failure word out of there. And do you have any good recipes for cherry pie filling? I would love for you to share those with me. If you haven't yet, while we wait, please like and subscribe to my channel. Share my videos. That helps my channel grow. Okay, I'm going to stop a minute. Let's see if there's bubbles because I'm stirring, but are there bubbles because it's actually boiling? Not quite. Okay. Let's see, what other pie fillings do I make? Okay, so I always make, every fall, make apple pie filling. That's my husband's favorite pie filling. In fact, I have a jar here on the counter I can show you. Here we go. This one I made with brown sugar, and this one I made with white sugar. I thought the brown sugar would be more of like a caramel flavor, and it is to a point, but for us it is just way too sweet. So a lot of times I will mix one with white sugar and one with brown sugar in the same pie, and that kind of tones it down a little bit. I make blueberry pie filling whenever I can get blueberries at a good price. I do not yet have blueberry plants, although I plan to next summer add blueberries. This summer I added additional fruit trees and additional raspberries, a different variety of raspberries. Okay, I'm going to add the lemon juice. It calls for 1/4 of a cup. We definitely have some boiling right there. Okay, there's the lemon juice. Excuse me. And then it says to bring it to a boil again, or bring it back up to a boil, and boil for 1 minute. So let's see here. Not quite boiling, but we are getting close. And then after that 1 minute, okay, there we're boiling. Now 1 minute, so time, let's see, timer, 1, go. Okay. And we'll stir. This smells so good. But I did taste the juice when I was measuring it, and oh my word, is it tart. Whew, I'm going to turn that down a little bit so it doesn't boil over. It'll stay boiling, but not come up the sides. Keep checking my whisk to make sure I'm not melting it. I had a supposedly heat-safe plastic whisk one time, and first or second time I actually used it, it melted. This one's holding up pretty good. Okay. All right, 20 seconds left. Then we'll add the cherries. And I think we have to bring it back to a boil again. Okay, let's see. Add lemon juice, boil 1 minute. Add cherries, return to a boil, and then remove from the heat. Okay. All right, there's our timer. I'm going to add our cherries. I don't want to splash. All right, cherries are in. I'm going to switch to a different spoon, or different, switch to a wooden spoon. Okay, stir constantly, bring back to a boil. I don't feel like this has thickened any. I may have missed a step. Okay. It's pretty. Smells good. Okay, bring it back to a boil. Okay, while we're waiting for this to come to a boil, let's see. Stir, yep, gotta stir constantly. Okay, so I am going to use a new lid, Superb lids, made in the United States. I was able to get those at the Mennonite store. I've heard several people on YouTube talking about using those. I do love that they're made in the United States. And I was looking at the flats, and they do have a very nice, substantial layer of rubber on there. It does say that it is, let me see, what did it say? FDA compliant and BPA free. So I like that too. I really have no business buying flats because I went to an auction 2 summers ago and bought over 300 flats new in their boxes for like $18. So I will have flats forever and ever. But I did want to try these out and I felt like they were a good price. Okay, am I boiling yet? Nope. Putting those cherries in really cooled it down. There's something about this that smells like the bakery at Silver Dollar City. Yum, yum, yum. I had bought some frozen cherries around Christmas time because cherry jelly is my daddy's favorite. And so that was his Christmas gift, was a jar of cherry jelly. And they did not smell this good. They smelled good, but not this good. Okay, I will bring you back whenever it is time to put this in jars. Okay, we are right there at the boiling point. I did go ahead and make the executive decision to add the rest of those cherries. So I made a note on my cookbook that I used 8 cups of cherries instead of 4. All right, let me pull you closer. And we're going to put these in jars. Now I'm going to do like 1 scoop per jar, trying not to make too big of a mess. I do have my jars set on top of a small baking sheet. That way, whatever mess I make goes onto the baking sheet and not all over my counter. But I'm doing this because I want to make sure that each jar gets a heaping scoop of actual berries. Oh man, that just went down the front of the cabinets. Well, that's okay. It's going to be a sticky, sticky mess in here. Okay, I'm going to fill each of these jars, making sure I get a few berries in each scoop, but mostly broth or juice, not broth, juice. And this is supposed to make 4 quarts, but I don't know that it's actually going to do that. I feel like it's not going to. Okay. I feel like I'm only going to get maybe 3. And if that's the case, I need to divvy up that 4th jar of berries. But we'll see. Okay. So these jars, these quarts of pie filling, need to process for 35 minutes, and I'm going to do a hot water bath. They do not need to be pressure canned. Whew, this is sticky. My goodness. I did taste it. It tastes really good. It still has a lot of tartness, but there's enough sweet to cut through that tartness and make a really delicious bite. Okay, no way am I going to fill a 4th jar. Okay, I'm just going to pick this up. And can you see there? I'm going to pour it in. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let's see, I need to put this hot pan somewhere. Set it over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to save this out, and I'm going to make us a tiny little pie so that we can taste this pie filling. And then that'll help me to know too if I want to go pick more berries to make another batch. All right, next I'm going to wipe down the rims. I'm going to put on a clean, brand new flat, put on the rim, this, okay, and then process for 35 minutes. I will bring you back whenever I am taking them out of the canner so that you can see how beautiful they are. Okay, so now I'm switching over to making jelly, and I am going to use a box of Sure-Jell this time. The cherry pie filling has come out of the canner, and I will put in a picture, or have in between pie filling and jelly, I'll put a picture. And I will tell you, so far I'm not impressed with the cherry pie filling, just because I feel like it's not thickening, and the cherry to juice ratio is not what I expected. So, but that's okay. Part of canning and part of, home preserving and learning how to do all this is you have to go through a few failures before you get to good stuff. So let's see, I washed my little whisk. No, I did not. It's in the dirty dishes. Okay, let me grab a different spoon. Okay, so right here on my stovetop, I've got 3.5 cups of cherry juice. I've added 1 box of Sure-Jell, and let me bring you closer so you can see it. It's in there and it's all chunky, okay? So we're going to stir that in as it heats up. Oh, I did add a couple glugs of lemon juice also, bottled lemon juice. Okay, so we're going to stir this up. Once this Sure-Jell dissolves and then comes to a boil, I will add sugar. And so we've got, you know what? Thinking about sugar, I did not measure out enough. Okay, let me fix that real quick. Because it was supposed to be 3.5 cups of juice and then 4.5 of sugar, and I only did 3.5 sugar. So let me put in another cup. There we go. Okay. Sorry for the squeak. Need to oil my hinges. All right, so I'm just going to keep stirring this juice and Sure-Jell until it's all combined and until it comes to a boil. Okay, our juice is boiling. I'm going to add in our sugar just all at once. Let me bring you closer so you can see. There we go. A little bit better review. Oops, too far. So I'm going to try to adjust the camera. There we go. I'm going to keep stirring in the sugar until it dissolves. Bring it back to a boil. And at that point, I'm going to boil it for 2 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, I will remove it from the heat and start jarring it up. Okay, so this is now boiling, and I'm going to time it for 2 minutes, which I already set the timer. This is a fairly small batch of jelly, so I don't really have to worry about it with this. But if this was a larger batch, I'd have to be very careful that it doesn't boil up the sides of the pan and come out or boil over. That could be very dangerous and very messy. This is one reason I don't ever double a jelly batch. I still have a gallon of cherry juice left, so I can still do at least 3 more, maybe 4 more batches of jelly if I choose to do that. But I will not ever double a batch in the same pan. It's just too dangerous. Okay, we've got about 45 seconds left, and then I'm going to pour this into a large measuring cup. It has a pour spout on it, and it's going to just make for easier jarring of the jelly. If this was a larger batch, I probably would not do that, but with this one I am. I'm all for less mess, and yes, it's going to dirty another dish, but in the long run, it's going to be less of a mess than me ladling the juice into jars. All right, there's our timer. I'm going to shut the heat off. Move my spoon out of the way. Okay, I'm just going to pour this very carefully and away from me. Do it in a way that you can see it. Into my portable measuring cup. Very careful not to get burnt by the juice or the steam. Okay, now I'm just going to take this and pour it into my little jelly jars. Within, about 1/2 inch of the top. So it comes up right to the bottom of my funnel. Okay, I predicted I would get 6 jars. And I am right at 6 with a tiny bit left in here. This jar here could use a tiny bit more. So could this one. And then we'll call this our taster. Okay, so even though I had a funnel over the top of the jars and was being very careful not to make messes and get drips everywhere, I am still going to take the time to wipe off Oops, I'm going the wrong direction. Here we go. To wipe off the tops of each of these jars, if there is any juice left on your jars or any stickiness, that's going to keep your lids from sealing. So I'm just going to go over these real quick. There we go. I'm going to put on a brand new lid, brand new flat, brand new ring. These are not the Superb. These are the rings and lids that came with this set of jars. This was a brand new box of jars. And so I'm going to use what it came with. All right, I need to set this out of the way. And I need to get my canner back over here. Ouch. He's hot. Got a little bit of juice there. Okay, and I'm going to Google, but I think that jelly just has to process for about 5 minutes. But I will double check that, and I will show you what it looks like coming out of the canner. Okay, I wanted to hop back on here and talk to you about the pie filling real quick. Yes, I'm unhappy with the consistency of the juice. I'm unhappy with the ratio of cherry to juice portions, but after rewatching what I videoed, I know where I went wrong. It says in the recipe to you put in your clear gel and you stir constantly until it starts to boil, but it says boil until it begins to thicken, and I did not do that. I did get it to the boiling point. I added my lemon juice, and I think at that point I added sugar, and it never thickened. It should have already been thick when I put it into the jars. Now, that little half jar of pie filling that was left over, I poured that into a pan on top of the stove, added another tablespoon of clear gel, and I cooked it until it was thickened. And so we did get a delicious little pie. It's still pretty runny. I mean, you can see right there in the pan, it's kind of running out. It is yummy. I probably could have cooked it a while longer to make it more thick, but I am going to try this recipe again. Probably not right now because I don't have any plans of picking more cherries right now, but I do know what I did wrong. So like I said, sometimes you have to have the failures to get the knowledge to do it again better the next time. So with that being said, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for watching, and happy canning and baking.